We can't know what the first painting was or who painted it. The first painting is just a point in time where we started using paints as humans to create works of art. We have evidence of paint at least being made going back tens of thousands of years ago. The question of how we started painting isn't a very hard question to ask, or at least answer. Paints are just made of a pigment, a solvent, and then a binder to mix them together. The difference between modern and primitive paints are really just modern paints use more sophisticated chemicals to make that whole process easier. In the case of primitive paints, most of the pigments came from either minerals, flowers, or bugs, depending on where you were, mixed with some water. Once they're mixed, you can spread them evenly with either your hands or a blow tube. Once the water dries, the minerals are left behind. The sources of these pigments were readily available, no matter where you went. As you can see, there's flowers. I see some bugs over there, and I have some clay here. Clay was a popular choice because it's easy to work with. It's easy to grind up, and it mixes really well with water because of the small particle size. Another reason it was probably really popular is when we use it as paint, it makes very rich reds, oranges, even browns. We've all seen pictures of cave paintings, whether they be on the internet or Nat Geo, and you've probably noticed that they have very limited color palettes. And that's the color palette probably consisted of blacks, whites, reds, oranges, maybe a little yellows in there, and some browns. And that's because some of the most abundant pigments were charcoal and clay. So the question of how we started painting is not a very hard question to answer. Children paint with mud, flowers, or pretty much anything else besides paint. A much more interesting question is why we started painting. Now, we obviously can't just go and ask them. They're all the way in Africa.